There's a reason some people fast for days and see miraculous breakthroughs, while others fast for weeks and see nothing change. The difference isn't in how long you fast or how spiritual you appear, it's in avoiding 5 critical mistakes that most Christians make. The enemy has studied your fasting patterns and knows exactly which buttons to push to make you destroy your own spiritual progress. Right now, he's probably laughing at Christians who are fasting the wrong way because he knows that it will yield no results. The first major mistake many Christians make during fasting is when they consistently speak negative words that contradict the very things they are fasting about. Whenever you fast, the power of God becomes highly concentrated in your body and spirit. And during this time, your spiritual atmosphere becomes extremely sensitive, meaning careless words don't just bounce off into the air, they become prophetic declarations that can manifest in your life. In the spirit realm, your words during fasting aren't just communication, they're creative forces that shape your reality. This is why Proverbs chapter 18 verse 21 warns us that death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Here's a powerful truth. Your breakthrough is often just one negative confession away from being cancelled. Look at the story of Zacharias in Luke chapter 1 verses 11 to 20. This man had been fasting and praying for a child for years. When he went into the temple to offer sacrifice and wait upon the Lord, the angel Gabriel appeared to him with the exact answer he'd been seeking, the promise of a son. But instead of receiving this word with faith, Zacharias began to question it, saying, "Whereby shall I know this? For I am an old man, and my wife well stricken in years." At this point, the angel was disappointed at his confession. Angel Gabriel's response was swift and severe. He said, "And behold, thou shalt be dumb and not able to speak until the day that these things shall be performed, because thou believest not my words, which shall be fulfilled in their season." Zacharias lost his ability to speak because his negative confession threatened to abort the very breakthrough he'd been fasting for. Compare this to Mary's response in Luke chapter 1 verse 38, when the same angel brought her an impossible word. Mary's situation was even trickier than Zacharias, but instead of speaking negatively, she said, "Behold the handmaid of the Lord, be it unto me according to thy word." Notice the difference. One person questioned the breakthrough and lost their voice. Another person embraced it and became the mother of the Messiah. When you're fasting and believing God for anything, be it a job, marriage, healing, or financial breakthrough, every word you speak either builds faith or destroys it. If you're fasting for employment, don't complain about the job market. If you're fasting for healing, don't rehearse your symptoms. If you're fasting for a financial breakthrough, don't discuss your lack. In fact, sometimes as soon as you are done fasting, the enemy will come back to tempt you with the same thing. He might begin saying, "Are you sure God heard your prayers?" He will remind you of all the other times you had fasted and nothing happened. In some cases, he might even send people to tempt you with negative words, so that when you agree with what they are saying, you will end up invalidating your fast. For example, you might be believing God for a child, and someone comes to remind you that it isn't possible to have a child at this stage. The moment you agree with someone else's negative report about your situation, you're essentially telling God, "Never mind what I've been asking you for. This person's assessment is more accurate than your promises." This is spiritual betrayal. By believing the negative words of someone else over God's promises, you have simply invalidated the breakthrough you were expecting. Remember, faith and fear are two laws in the Spirit. Whichever one you choose to believe is the one that will happen to you. The second deadly mistake that ruins your fast is when you keep meddling in sin. Nothing destroys the power of your fast more than sin. When you fast, you're essentially creating a direct line of communication between your spirit and God's Spirit. Sin creates static on that line, and eventually it can cut the connection completely. In Isaiah chapter 58 verses 3 to 4, God addressed people who were fasting but not seeing results. Wherefore have we fasted, say they, and thou seest not? Wherefore have we afflicted our soul, and thou takest no knowledge? Behold, in the day of your fast ye find pleasure. Behold, ye fast for strife and debate, and to smite with the fist of wickedness. Ye shall not fast as ye do this day, to make your voice to be heard on high. The Hebrew word for pleasure here is chefetz, which means delight or desire. These people were fasting while still indulging in their fleshly desires and maintaining their sinful patterns. God essentially told them, your voice isn't reaching heaven because your lifestyle is contradicting your prayers. Remember this, you cannot fast with dirty hands and expect clean answers. Sin during fasting is particularly dangerous because it gives the enemy legal ground to block your breakthrough. In 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8, we're warned that the devil walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. The word seeking in Greek is zeteo, which means to search diligently or